In the last video, we looked at how Britain turned houses into a money machine, and once you see that, something very annoying happens. You start noticing the rest of the game. Because Britain has a money game. It has rules, it has traps, it has shortcuts, it has lucky squares, it has penalty squares, it has a tax goblin hiding behind every pay rise, and like all badly designed board games, some players appear to start suspiciously close to the finish line. So today, we're asking a slightly dangerous question. Is the British money game rigged? And the answer is yes, but not in the way people usually mean. This is not a video about a secret group of men in a smoke-filled room, stroking a cat, deciding your council tax band, although to be honest that would explain some things. The British money game is not rigged by one villain. It is rigged by incentives, and incentives are much harder to draw, so we're going to draw them as tiny monsters in waistcoats. So in today's video, we're drawing the board game nobody remembers agreeing to play. Let's start with the official version of the game. You're told something like this: work hard, get educated, earn more, save money, buy a home, build a pension, retire comfortably. Very sensible, very British, very put the kettle on and stop complaining. And to be fair, that path can still work for some people. But the problem is that not everyone is playing the same version of the game. Some people are playing on beginner mode, some people are playing on expert mode, and some people appear to have started with 3 houses, a pension pot, and a mysterious envelope from grandma labelled deposit help. The first big rule of the British money game is this: work is taxed heavily and visibly. Wealth is taxed differently, often less visibly, and sometimes not until much later. When you earn a salary, the deductions are immediate: income tax, national insurance, student loan if you have one, pension contributions, maybe childcare costs. Your payslip is basically a crime scene with headlines. You see the deductions, you see what's left, and then you try to have a normal life with it. But wealth does not always feel like that. If your house rises in value, nobody sends you a monthly payslip saying, "Congratulations, your bricks made more money than you did." If your pension grows, it sits quietly in the background. If your parents can help with a deposit, that does not appear as life difficulty reduced by 27% on a government form. If you inherit wealth, it might transform your entire financial future, but it probably does not feel like a salary. That is why the money game can feel so confusing. Income is loud, wealth is quiet, and quiet money can be very powerful. Now, this does not mean earning money doesn't matter. Of course it matters. A higher income can make a huge difference. But in Britain, income alone often has to fight through rent, tax, housing costs, childcare, debt, commuting, and the general subscription-based misery of modern life. Wealth, on the other hand, often gives you breathing room. And breathing room is one of the most underrated financial advantages in the country. If you have savings, you can handle a broken car without panic. If your parents can help with a deposit, you might buy earlier and avoid years of rent. If you own your own home, you may eventually reduce one of your biggest costs. If you have assets, they can grow while you sleep. If you have none of that, you have to build everything from wages that are already being nibbled by the system. So the game is not just about how hard you work, it's about what you start with and what your family can absorb when things go wrong. That brings us to our second rule of the British money game. The same mistake costs different people different amounts. Imagine 2 people have the same unexpected £800 bill. One has savings, annoying but survivable. The other has no buffer. They go into overdraft, credit card debt, buy now pay later, or they miss something else. Same bill, different outcome. For one person it's a bad Tuesday, for the other it becomes a 6-month financial side quest. This is one of the reasons just budget better can be such useless advice on its own. Budgeting helps, but budgeting does not magically change the price of rent. It does not create a deposit. It does not make childcare cheap. It does not stop a boiler from exploding with the comic timing of a pantomime villain. Money gives you margin. Margin gives you options. Options lets you make better decisions, and better decisions create more margin. That is the nice version of the loop. The nasty version is no margin creates pressure. Pressure creates expensive decisions. Expensive decisions create debt. Debt reduces margin, and round you go. The third rule of the game is that Britain rewards asset ownership. Not always fairly, not always intentionally, but very powerfully. If you bought a home at the right time, you may have benefited from years of rising prices and low mortgage rates. That does not mean you did anything wrong. It means you were standing in the right place when the machine started handing out advantages. If you missed that window, the same machine now looks a bit less friendly. You face higher prices, bigger deposits, stricter affordability checks, and rents that make saving harder. This is why housing is so important. A home is not only shelter, it can be a wealth engine, it can be collateral, it can be security, it can be inheritance. It can be the difference between retiring with low housing costs and retiring while still paying rent. And this is where the game starts to feel rigged, because the more housing wealth your family has, the easier it can be to pass advantages on. Not always through some dramatic inheritance. Sometimes it is smaller and earlier. Help with a deposit, living rent-free at home while saving, parents acting as a guarantor, a loan for a car so you can get to work, childcare from grandparents, an emergency buffer, advice from people who have already played the game. None of those things are evil. Most parents help their children because they love them, but the result is family wealth becomes a hidden difficulty setting. Two people can work equally hard, earn similar wages and make similar choices, but if one has a family backing and the other has none, they're not playing the same game. One is climbing a ladder, the other is climbing the same ladder while carrying the ladder. The fourth rule is that the tax system is full of cliffs, tapers and weird traps. Britain does not just tax people in a simple straight line. It has thresholds, allowances, withdrawals, tapers, student loan plans, child benefit rules, personal allowance tapering, pension interactions. It is less like a clean staircase and more like a badly assembled climbing frame from a budget garden centre. At certain points, earning more can feel weirdly unrewarding. Not because earning more is bad, earning more is usually good, but because extra income can trigger extra deductions or lost support. That is how you get the strange feeling of being promoted and then discovering half the promotion has been eaten by a creature called marginal rate. This is where lots of people get frustrated. They do the thing the system says to do, they earn more, they progress, they take responsibility, and then the system says, excellent, we'll have some of that. Again, this is not one villain, it's layers. Each rule may have a reason. Income tax funds services. National insurance funds the state. Student loan repayments are meant to recover some of the cost of its loan system. Child benefit withdrawal is supposed to target support away from higher earners, even if the way it does it can feel blunt and unfair. Personal allowance taper raises revenue from higher earners. But when all the layers stack together, the lived experience is simple. You climb the ladder and Britain made the next rung sticky. The fifth rule of the British money game is that the board changes while you are playing. Your parents' advice may not be wrong. It may just be from a different version of the game. Buy a house as soon as you can. Good advice if houses are affordable. Get a degree and you'll be sorted. More complicated when student loans follow you for decades and graduate jobs are not guaranteed to fill premium. Save hard and don't waste money. Still good advice, but harder when rent eats the money you were supposed to save. Work hard and you'll be fine. Lovely idea, but not always enough when assets, family support, location and timing matter so much. This is why Britain can feel so strange right now. The old rules are still being repeated, but the board has changed. And if you tell people they are playing Monopoly while the board has quietly become Dark Souls, they're going to notice. So is the British money game rigged? Yes, but not because every successful person cheated, not because every homeowner is a villain, not because nobody can improve their situation, and not because personal responsibility does not matter. It does matter, but personal responsibility operates inside a system, and the system has incentives. It rewards owning assets. It taxes work very visibly. It gives huge advantages to people with family backing. It punishes lack of buffer. It has weird cliffs and traps. It keeps telling people to climb the ladder while quietly moving the ladder further away. That does not mean you should give up. In fact, understanding the game is the opposite of giving up, because once you can see the board, you can make better moves. You can understand why an emergency fund matters, why pension contributions can be powerful, why housing dominates so much of British life, why student loans behave more like a tax than a normal loan, why a pay rise can feel disappointing, why inheritance and family support matter more than people like to admit, and why just work harder is not a full explanation of who gets ahead. The point is not to become bitter. The point is to become harder to fool. Because the British money game is confusing enough when you can see the rules. It is almost impossible when nobody tells you what they are. So let's draw the board one more time. At the start, there is a worker. Next to them is income. Income is useful, but it gets attacked by tax, rent, bills and debt. Above them are assets. Assets are harder to get, but once you have them, they can quietly change the game. Behind some players is family wealth, invisible but powerful. Scattered around the board are traps. Tax thresholds, housing costs, student loans, childcare, interest rates, unexpected bills, and somewhere in the corner is the tax goblin, looking far too pleased with himself. That is the British money game. Not hopeless, not fair, not impossible, just badly explained. Because once you understand the board, you start noticing the squares everyone else forgot to mention. And in the next video, we're going to look at some of the strangest squares of all.